Another benefit of serverless is around agility and DevOps, or development operations. Keep in mind these serverless services, they've been developed over the last few years. So they've been there with DevOps already existing. So DevOps capabilities tend to be built in, and they heavily integrate with these services. So different deployment strategies, zero downtime, all of these are very easy to implement compared to a server-based solution. On the agility side, actually serverless and agile methodology are very closely linked. It's a very similar mindset. With serverless microservices, you've broken a large project down into small chunks. And similar with agile, you've got your user stories, your epics. And in fact, when you're doing user stories for microservices, you limit the user stories to 1 to 5 user stories per microservice. It really is about keeping it very simple and performing a very specific feature or capability. Because with a serverless microservice architecture, you're working with effectively lots of mini projects. So instead of one big project, one big code base, you now have lots of microservices that you're planning for. So each one of these microservices can have its own plan, its own budget, its own timeline, and one or more developers that are working on that particular microservice. So you can do a lot of parallel development with multiple developers working on multiple microservices. And because each of these microservices runs independently, they shouldn't have any dependencies on each other. So you can limit the weighting and really maximize productivity. So I mentioned scaling in the challenges, but if you have the right cost management controls in place to avoid excessive scaling and crazy amounts of uploads, the fact that serverless solutions will just scale to meet demand up to extreme numbers is very powerful. I mean, this is another thing that you don't need to worry so much about, that the cloud provider will manage, and they make certain guarantees on that. Again, reduces your scope, your effort, if you will, so that you can focus on the application and the ROI. And lastly, along with lower cost and just paying based on actual usage, you'll also have significantly lower maintenance cost. Again, because you're not maintaining operating systems, you're not maintaining software, the security patching, everything else that comes with that. It's a lot of work to do that in the right way. And being able to avoid that and not have to budget for that saves an incredible amount of maintenance time. Also to consider is that microservices are temporary, right? So a request comes in, the microservices launches, it does its thing, and then it goes away again. And so you generally don't have to deal with things like caching or temporary storage and temporary files, things that might crop up as a problem on a service-based solution. And so your maintenance, your operations, it could almost be zero in many cases